Hi guys, this is Hirosaki. This story is all about what if Naruto was given a time travel jutsu. After receiving a time travel jutsu as payment for a mission, the original 4 members of Team 7 each get a chance to go back to one event in their life and change it. Surely they will use such an awesome power responsibly, right? Don't count on it. Before we start, kindly like and subscribe to this channel and look over the description box for the author of this amazing storyline. Welcome aboard. Chapter 1, Kakashi. Kakashi looked at the scroll in his hands with great interest. The man who had hired them for the exceedingly dangerous but rather tedious A-rank mission hadn't had enough money to cover the fee, but had promised them some valuable scrolls to make up the difference. Most of that had gone to Godame to do with what she would, but this, well, this was a little too interesting to pass up. What is it? Naruto demanded impatiently. You've been staring at that thing for the past hour. I have not, Kakashi lied. Kakashi-sensei's right, Sakura sided with her teacher. Kakashi shot her a grateful look, but she wasn't finished. He's been staring at it for the past hour and 3 minutes, she finished with a smirk. Is it a powerful jutsu? Sasuke asked. Because if it's not, I've got better ways of wasting my time. At least it's not porn this time, Sakura tried to be positive. Sasuke snorted. I wouldn't be too sure. Kakashi ignored his 3 students, trying to decide whether or not he should share this with them. It was highly irresponsible, of course, and if anyone had thought to do so, it would be highly illegal as well. The man who had hired them clearly had no idea what he was parting with. This scroll contains a time travel jutsu, Kakashi said gravely, deciding that since Naruto had finally made good on his age-old promise to kick Sasuke's ass and bring him back home, stopping Madara and saving the world in the process, none of them were really the world-conquering types, and as Naruto didn't believe in revenge, Sasuke had already gotten his, and Sakura really hadn't had anything too horrible by ninja standards happen to her, it was reasonably safe to share. A time travel jutsu? Sakura repeated skeptically. I've never heard of anything like that. Even if it were possible, the energy required to use it would just be. She trailed off, unable to think of a way to describe it. Kakashi shrugged. That's the other reason I'm telling you. If the 4 of us do it at the same time, it should be powerful enough. Assuming, of course, Naruto uses the Kyuubi. When would we go back to? Naruto asked. Whenever, Kakashi replied. We each have to pick a point in our lives that we'd like to relive and start over from there. I should warn you not to go back too far, because then you're stuck reliving your entire childhood as an adult, and that would get very old, very fast. There's no way to get back to now, though, so think carefully before you decide, do you want to use this? Hell yeah! Naruto shouted, pumping his fists in the air excitedly. Just think of all the people I could help. I could save Haku, and Old Man Hokage, and Asuma. And I could help Gaara, and Neji, and, well, pretty much all my other friends with their various issues that much sooner. And I could kill Orochimaru. Well, it's nice to know you have a plan, Kakashi said, feeling that Naruto was probably getting a little ahead of himself. And who was Haku again? I guess it would be nice to see if I could make a difference by not being useless at the beginning when everything started going to hell, Sakura mused. Sasuke? Kakashi questioned the last member of his initial team. Sasuke smirked. I'm sure I could think of some way to occupy myself. Choosing not to press for answers lest he hear something that would make him reconsider, Kakashi smiled brightly, not that anyone could tell beneath the mask, of course, but it was really the thought that counted, and said cheerfully, let's do it, then. Kakashi knew exactly where he'd wanted to be. The minute he saw the words time travel he knew. And he'd had so many flashbacks back to this day over the years, that he was certain he could get it right. If not, well, he was a good 20 years older and more experienced since then, and hadn't he and Rin always agreed that had Minato-sensei been there, things wouldn't have ended so tragically? Sure, he'd miss his trademark Sharingan eye, and if he lost his left eye again then there would be some real hell to pay, regardless of how everything else worked out, but Obito's life would be worth the inconvenience. And it's not like there wouldn't be plenty of unused Sharingan eyes a few years down the road if he was really desperate anyway. Are you even listening to me? Obito demanded angrily. Not even slightly, Kakashi confessed, a smile crossing his face despite himself as he climbed to his feet. Obito had apparently knocked him to the ground. Not surprising, if this was the infamous rescue Rin conversation. I definitely can't stand you. Obito yelled, furious that his heartfelt pleas to go and rescue Rin didn't even seem to merit the commander's attention. That hurts, really, Kakashi said, half serious. You know what else hurts? Obito asked rhetorically. The thought of us abandoning Rin to her fate. Of course we're not going to abandon Rin. Kakashi said, shocked. You can't expect these guards to work out the logical reasons to keep her alive and do so. Obito told him. They could kill her at any time. We don't have time to finish the mission and come back and hope she's there. I absolutely agree, Kakashi said solemnly. Poor Obito was so surprised he practically fell over. You do? He asked finally, wondering what the trick is. Kakashi nodded eagerly. Oh, definitely. What happened to, in the ninja world, those who do not obey the rules and regulations are trash? Obito asked suspiciously. That's true, Kakashi allowed. But on the other hand, those who do not care about their companions are worse than trash. His grin grew as he quoted the words Obito had not yet spoken but had changed his life back to him. If Obito was surprised before. Okay, who are you and what have you done with Kakashi? I don't know what you're talking about, Kakashi said airily. You just said that we should leave Rin. Just 2 minutes ago, Obito pointed out. That's why I punched you. That I did, Kakashi agreed. I changed my mind. Clearly, Obito muttered. Why? Not that I'm not in support of this change of opinion, because I definitely am, but I don't get it. It occurred to me that my father was, in fact, a true hero after all, Kakashi explained. And it wouldn't do very well to shame his memory by leaving Rin to die, now would it? Obito stared at him. You just decided that? In the time it took you to get up after I punched you? Kakashi nodded. Yes. Maybe you two have therapy jutsu. In fact, I'm nearly positive that you do. Therapy jutsu. Obito repeated, still rather unbalanced from this recent turn of events. Therapy jutsu, Kakashi confirmed. It's where you're fighting someone, they suddenly flash back to their tragic childhood, realize that they were being an idiot and change the course of their life. That sounds kind of unlikely, Obito confessed. Kakashi shrugged. I've seen it happen. Practically every time Naruto got within 2 feet of a fight, really. Well, okay, then. This is unexpected. Good, but unexpected. Let's go after Rin, then. Obito declared. You know, I had an entire speech planned, too, Obito complained as they approached their destination. It was a good speech, too. But it's like you took the words right out of my mouth. You're imagining things, Kakashi lied, wondering vaguely if he should be concerned how well he remembered what was going on. He wasn't that obsessive, was he? Oh, who was he trying to kid? He relived this day at the memorial every time he went, which was every day. It would actually be kind of weird if he didn't remember it this well. Found them, Obito breathed as they spotted the cave the Rin was being kept in. What's the plan? Kakashi thought for a moment, then figured that since it had worked last time, they might as well try it again. The less variables the better chance he had of controlling the outcome. You go ahead a little. Act like you're trying to be stealthy but failing. There are 2 of them, so since they think we're just a bunch of kids one of them will come out while the other stays with Rin. I can kill whoever comes out from behind. All right, Commander, Obito agreed. It was silly, of course, and he had had his authority acknowledged many, many times over the years, but hearing it from Obito was nice. He hoped he'd earn that respect in the next few minutes because he really wasn't sure he could handle losing him all over again. They weren't even that close back when Obito was alive, something he was determined to rectify the minute this hostage crisis was over, but he'd made such an big impact on his life posthumously. Not to mention that while he still felt guilty that his hesitance to go after Rin the first time might have played a role in Obito's death, that was nothing compared to how hard it would hit him if he knew it was coming but failed to prevent it. All right, let's go. Obito said, moving close. To where? Taisuke asked, materializing right behind Obito as Kakashi knew he would. Quickly, the newly minted Jounin body flickered over to them and held a kunai to Taisuke's throat. To rescue our teammate, he answered as he slit the enemy ninja's throat, feeling rather pleased that he'd managed to avenge his eye all these years later. Better watch that talk of vengeance, though. He didn't want to be Sasuke, after all. Wow, Obito said, his eyes wide. He didn't even have a chance to react. That was the idea, Kakashi said dryly. Now when we go in there, I need you to free Rin and get out. Watch out for falling rocks and leave Kako to me. Who? Obito asked, confused. The enemy ninja, Kakashi explained. Why do you know his name? Obito still didn't get it. Because I'm amazing, obviously, Kakashi said coolly. Or rather, because he'd obsessively pieced together what he could about that day in the weeks to follow. That didn't make him sound nearly as cool, though. God, he'd really been spending too much time with Guy, hadn't he? Speaking of, since he wasn't planning on receiving his signature Sharingan this time around, he might actually have to start training with him. Not as compulsively, obviously, but he needed an edge somehow, right? Not the word I would use, but, let's go, Obito said, running towards the mouth of the cave and immediately engaging Kako. Kakashi groaned. What did I tell him? He's as bad as Naruto, I swear. As Obito was apparently busy, Kakashi hurried to Rin's side and quickly dispelled the illusion and untied her. Rin blinked blurrily. Kakashi? I what? Oh. Her eyes went wide as they found her other teammate. Obito. His eyes. A quick glance confirmed for him that Obito had just awakened his Sharingan. Good. He'd completely forgotten about that in his effort to shut Taisuke down quickly and not lose his precious eye. Still, he'd better lend a hand. Are you okay to walk? Kakashi asked. Yes, Rin nodded, getting shakily to her feet. Wait near the exit for us, Kakashi instructed. It shouldn't take long. Without waiting to see if she'd listen, he knew she would, of course, he turned towards the battle and threw a shuriken at Kako. He dodged it easily, but that gave Obito an opportunity to knock him down. We did it. Obito beamed when he didn't get up after several moments. Knowing that Kako was either faking or would be regaining consciousness shortly, Kakashi shook his head grimly. Not yet. Chidori. He cried as he killed Obito's would-be murderer. Minato-sensei said not to use that, Obito pointed out. I've completed it, Kakashi replied. In one day. Obito couldn't believe it. Is that any harder to believe than me changing my entire belief system in the course of one punch? Kakashi asked rhetorically as he and the very much alive Uchiha made their way out of the very much not collapsing cave. Hey, don't diss the therapy jutsu. Obito laughed. Wouldn't dream of it, Kakashi promised. Guys. Rin piped up. Much as I hate to interrupt now that you two are actually getting along, but reinforcements showed up. Doton Retsudo Tenshou. Several of the many reinforcements said, putting his hands to the ground. Recognizing that jutsu as the one that had led to Obito's death, Kakashi quickly grabbed both of his teammates and hightailed it out of the path of the collapsing cave. Once he was clear, he grabbed Minato's special kunai and threw it. With any luck, his sensei would soon appear and, there he was. He had a really fast response time, didn't he? But then, since he wasn't supposed to know what the kunai did and it was shaped weird, he probably assumed Kakashi wouldn't use it if he wasn't out of options. Wow, sensei is awesome, Rin said, watching Minato take down opponent after opponent and showed them exactly why he was known as Konoha's Yellow Flash. You think that's cool? Obito asked. You should try watching it with the Sharingan. Now that's cool. I know, Kakashi agreed, remembering several times when he'd done just that. What? Obito asked. I said, I'm still waiting for that, you made Jounin present. I'm very proud of all of you, Minato told them as they made camp for the night. Rin, even though you were captured and tortured under Genjutsu, you did not reveal anything to the enemy. Obito, you found your courage, awoke your Sharingan, and proved yourself as a truly capable shinobi of Konoha. And Kakashi, I honestly never thought I'd say this, but you have learned the true meaning of teamwork. What about our mission? Rin asked. We kind of forgot about that. Minato smiled warmly at them. Unexpected delays happen all the time on missions. I took down the shinobi I needed to, so I can join you on your part tomorrow. The Konobi bridge is so going down, Obito declared boldly. I bet I'll destroy it first, Kakashi challenged impulsively. Oh, you are so on, Obito said heatedly. Oh, that reminds me, Kakashi said suddenly, turning to his female teammate. Rin, Obito's totally in love with you. It wouldn't do to let Obito die without telling her how he felt again, now would it? Really, he was going Obito a favor. What? Rin asked, surprised. Kakashi. Obito shouted and lunged at his friend. Kakashi smiled to himself as he ran from the enraged Uchiha. That had worked out very well. Better than he'd hoped, even. Not only was Obito alive, but they were well on their way to becoming friends and were reminding him so much of Naruto and Sasuke's rivalry that it was ridiculous. With Obito not having died for Rin's sake, she wouldn't be all depressed and go off and get herself killed. If Obito could be convinced to leave the Uchiha compound before the massacre, he knew the date, having dealt with Sasuke for years and was not above resorting to kidnapping to keep Obito safe that night. Maybe Obito could even take in Sasuke, so he'd stop brooding so much about having no family. He wasn't quite sure what to do about Minato, but since he knew about Madara and that was the only reason the Kyuubi attacked, well, he had a few years to figure something out. If nothing else, he could always take Naruto in if there was nothing to be done for Minato or Kushina. Speaking of his former/future students, for he would, of course, have to take them if only for old time's sake, he wondered what they had used their chance to time travel for. Surely they were using it for a noble purpose like he was, right? On the other hand, perhaps it was for the best that he'd never know. Chapter 2, Naruto. When Naruto heard about the chance to change the past, his first thought was, well, my childhood sucked so I might as well skip on to my genin days. He realized something, though, while Sakura's fangirlness was annoying, especially as he was no longer blindly infatuated with her and liked her as a person now, it was nothing compared to Sasuke moping about revenge all the time. What's more, having to waste 4 years of his life tracking Sasuke down was kind of a drag and he didn't want to go through that again. And what on earth had the boy been thinking to go after Orochimaru or all people? For God's sake, the Snake Sunin was even more of a pervert than Jiraiya as far as Naruto was concerned. Granted, he didn't go around spying on hot springs, not that Naruto knew of, at any rate, or declaring himself a super pervert, but then again at least Jiraiya didn't regularly go around giving hickeys to prepubescent girls and boys before convincing them to go live with him. So instead of starting at 12, Naruto elected to start at 8. Surely he could put up with a measly 4 years of continuing to be alone? Well, not completely alone if he played his cards right with Sasuke. The massacre was going to happen. If the ridiculously diplomatic Third Hokage hadn't been able to stop it, an 8-year-old outcast like himself sure as hell wouldn't. So, what to do, by himself? Not much. He could always follow Sasuke around until the other boy accepted that they were friends, in which case he might not be so bitter growing up and be less inclined to try and kill him later and abandon Konoha. Last time, Sasuke hadn't accepted it until he decided that if Naruto was going to try and stop him then he might as well get a Mangekyo Sharingan out of the deal. Naruto wandered around town as he pondered and eventually ended up at Ichiraku Ramen Bar. He grinned, pleased to see his favorite restaurant before Ayam had gone crazy and turned it into a Tsukemen bar. Granted, he could easily turn it back into ramen, but it was rather, dare he say it, troublesome and Ayam always yelled at him every time he did that. Entering the eating establishment, Naruto glanced around idly when he froze. Oh my god, is Kakashi actually on a date? With Anko? And, hey, you two look familiar. Aren't you dead? He blurted out. Oops. So much for subtle. What do you mean with Anko? Anko demanded suspiciously. Who else would he be out with? Because I swear to God, hey take, if you're cheating on me, I will emasculate you with a toothpick. Kakashi gulped. I would never do such a thing. I already have the most amazing girlfriend around right here. That's better, Anko said, sounding satisfied. Well, second most amazing, really, a man who looked vaguely like Sasuke said. And Naruto was pretty sure he'd seen him somewhere before, but not personally. Really sure he was supposed to be dead. Oh, well, it was possible he died sometime in the next 4 years or so. After all, she's not Rin. Eye twitching, Anko reached for a kunao. Don't mind him, the brown-haired woman, Rin interceded smoothly. He's clearly biased. Now, that that's settled, there's something I need to talk to Naruto about. I shouldn't be long, Kakashi promised as he stood and practically dragged Naruto over to an empty corner of the room. Well? What have you got to say for yourself? What do you mean? Naruto asked, only half feigning ignorance. You seemed surprised to see me with Anko when you should know we've been dating for a little over 6 months now, and when you saw Rin and Obito, you said they were supposed to be dead, Kakashi pointed out, eyes deadly serious. Naruto's eyes widened in realization. Your eyes. My eyes. Kakashi repeated neutrally. You don't have a Sharingan, Naruto breathed, trying to get over how weird it looked to see his ex-teacher without a Hittite covering his eye or even a Sharingan eye. Kakashi just blinked at him, looking stunned. Naruto? He asked hesitantly. I thought we'd already established that you knew who I was, Naruto told him, wondering if he would have to somehow prove his identity. Well, that would be easy enough as Kakashi already knew about the Kyuubi, but he wasn't exactly supposed to know yet. No, I mean, Kakashi shook his head, trying to sort his words out. You came back, too? I expected different timelines. Realizing that his teacher was being vague enough so that he, at 8, wouldn't realize what Kakashi was talking about unless he knew exactly what Kakashi was talking about, Naruto managed a small smile. Me too. I guess because we all did it together the two of us ended up in the same spot. Did Sasuke and Sakura come back yet? Kakashi shook his head. Not that I'm aware of, and, believe me, I've kept my eye on you three. Sakura probably won't come back until she at least makes Genin, because the worst thing that happened to her before then was picked on for insecurities about her forehead, and she wouldn't very well wish to relive her childhood over that. I don't think she would be crazy enough to try and change anything about Sasuke's situation, and she could always make things up to when you were on my team again. As for Sasuke, I honestly don't know where he is. I expected he'd want to be here today, but maybe he doesn't think he can change it either, and I wouldn't blame him not to want to relieve the aftermath. That is why you're here, isn't it? The massacre. Naruto laughed sheepishly. Well, yeah. But let's get to that in a minute. Tell me what you did, first. They were your teammates, right? You managed to save them. Kakashi nodded. I saved Obito. Because of that, somewhere down the line, Rin didn't die. And they got together? I thought you told me once that your team was like ours in the beginning, cheerful boy likes girl who likes emo boy, Naruto pointed out. Kakashi nodded again. That's true. However, after Obito died and made me promise to take care of Rin, I always saw her as the girl Obito loved, and it's not like I could change that after these years. Eventually, Rin realized that I was never going to be interested and, over time, she fell for Obito. And you went with Anko. Naruto still couldn't believe it. Are you crazy? Kakashi shrugged. We're all crazy, Naruto, it's part of the job description. The most normal of all of us was Sakura, and look how useless she was until Tsunade got a hold of her and started to spread her craziness. In fact, I have a theory, the crazier the ninja, the more powerful they are. True, Naruto acknowledged. But I repeat, Anko? Isn't she a little young for you? I'm not that old, you know, Kakashi replied, looking mildly affronted. Anko's only 2 years younger than me, and there's nothing wrong with a 22-year-old dating a 20-year-old. Whatever you say, Naruto didn't look convinced, but decided to let it drop. He found he really didn't need to know. Any other life-altering changes I should know about? Kakashi considered the question. He had already been in the past for a little over 10 years now, and a lot had changed in that time. Still, Naruto had said, life-altering, so. Well, you're not an orphan, for one thing. What? Naruto's eyes bulged out. I have a mom. Everybody has a mother, Naruto, Kakashi said condescendingly. Honestly, it's like nobody gave you the talk. Naruto glared up at him. That reminds me, I don't think I will ever forgive you for leaving it to Jiraiya to give me that. Seriously, if I hadn't sworn off revenge, I would totally kick your ass for that. Well, it's a good thing you did, then, huh? Kakashi asked cheerfully. Anyway, to answer your real question, no, your mother is still dead. Just like before, she died shortly after childbirth because Madara showed up. And don't you dare feel guilty for that, it wasn't your fault and God knows you've had more problems due to the Kyuubi over the years than anyone else. So? Naruto said hesitantly. Does that mean that, but how? Your father is still alive, Naruto, Kakashi told him, smiling genuinely at the small boy. But what about the Shinigami? Didn't they need a sacrifice to seal the Kyuubi? Naruto was confused. They did, Kakashi admitted, his grin fading. But the third Hokage sacrificed himself instead of the fourth. You killed the third Hokage? Naruto asked incredulously. I did not kill him, Kakashi snapped. He didn't sacrifice himself in the original timeline, so you must have done something, Naruto pointed out rationally. Kakashi sighed heavily. You have to understand, the last time no one knew what your father was going to do, just that he had a plan. Minato knew that if anyone knew what he was going to do, they would end up stopping him. Almost immediately after you were born, he rushed out to stop the Kyuubi's advance and as such didn't really have any time to make provisions for you. He told Gamabunta to tell Jiraiya to spread the word that he wanted you to be a hero, but the third derailed that plan by keeping the details of the seal and your parentage a secret. So what did you do? Naruto pressed. I let it slip what Minato was planning and the third decided he would rather be sacrificed to a Shinigami than come out of retirement, Kakashi explained. Naruto stared at him. You're joking. Well, it might have been a bit more complicated than that, Kakashi admitted. He said that your father was what Konoha needed right now, that he was too old to take the reins again, that you were going to have a hard enough life as a Jinchuriki without being an orphan, too, and needed someone to take care of you. Minato didn't like it, but in the end he agreed. So my father's the Hokage, huh? Naruto mused. He was saddened at the third's loss, of course, but he'd come to terms with it 5 years ago, so it didn't hit him as hard as it would have had it been, say, the very much still alive Tsunade. Does that mean people have to be nicer to me? Kakashi snorted. Kid, when your father said he wanted you to be seen as a hero, he meant it. His determination that your sacrifice be honored and the fact that your parentage was public knowledge as well as Minato's own hero status, boosted by his defeat of the Kyuubi, well, let's just say that you won't need to bring half of Konoha back to life to get your heroes welcome this time. Well, that will make the next 4 years easier, Naruto decided. You're going to have to tell me about my father, though. If he's been raising me all these years, I'll probably be expected to know a bit more about him than the scraps of information I managed to collect from you and Jiraiya. Hell, even Gamabunta was more talkative than you two were. Of course I'll help you with any questions you may have, Kakashi promised. I do kind of have a date to get back to, though, so, what are your plans as far as tonight goes? What are yours? Naruto shot back. I don't think you went through all this effort to save Obito only to lose him now. A thought struck him. Wait, so much else has changed, is there even going to be a coup? Kakashi nodded solemnly. Your father is many things, Naruto, but he is not a miracle worker. The seeds of the Uchiha Rebellion were sown since before Madara even left Konoha. And, of course, it doesn't help that your father actually saw Madara loitering around the day of the attack. He didn't recognize him, however, just knew that it was an Uchiha and as Madara is supposed to be dead, it gave people a lot of reason for suspicion. Unlike the third, Minato refuses to let the council bully him into going along with them, but with Danzo having his little minions stalking the Uchiha and with Koharu and Homura's obvious distrust, the coup is supposed to occur sometime within the next week or so. Minato put off ordering it as long as he could, but in the end preventing another great shinobi war is more important than one clan. Attack is to kill them tonight. What about Sasuke? I mean, we all know Attack won't kill him, but he can't be left on his own again either, not after what happened last time. And what about Obito? Naruto inquired. Obito's loyalty to Minato was never in question, so the clan never told him of their plans for fear it would be discovered. He doesn't know about the coup and he definitely doesn't know about Attack's mission. As such, Minato made clear this Obito is not to be harmed, Kakashi Expo cited. I'm going to keep Obito away from the compound tonight so he won't get in the way. He actually found his own place and is in the process of moving out anyway. And as for Sasuke, well, Obito will probably end up taking him in as he'll be his only remaining family member still in Konoha, and that way the both of us will be able to keep an eye on him and hopefully stop him from going off the deep end as far as revenge goes. Then what in the world am I here for? Naruto asked, frustrated. I didn't come all the way back here just to serve as Sasuke's moral support, which he won't need anyway once he comes back. He smirked as an idea came to him. Hey, whatever happened to Orochimaru? I know my father wouldn't spare him out of sentiment like the third did, so did he die, remain in Konoha, leave and join Akatsuki again? What? Kakashi frowned, unsure about the sudden change in topic. When Orochimaru's treachery was discovered, your father fought him and managed to drive him from Konoha. He would have killed him, but Orochimaru used his summons to start attacking Konoha, and by the time your father had brought out his own summons and turned his attention back to the battle, Orochimaru had managed to flee. I see, Naruto's smile was downright evil. What are you planning? Kakashi asked reluctantly, nearly positive that he did not, in fact, want to know. I don't actually know Attack very well, but if nothing else I feel sorry for him for having to actually willingly spend time with Madara. Naruto shuddered. Total prick. And crazy as hell to boot. Besides, all things considered, he really didn't deserve what happened, and Sasuke probably wouldn't have been so traumatized by the massacre if it weren't for the fact that it was Attack's doing. And if he had a good reason to hate Orochimaru, he wouldn't have gone off train under him, gone off the deep end, and start working for Akatsuki. What are you saying? Kakashi asked carefully. Let's blame everything on Orochimaru, Naruto suggested brightly. Later that night, Naruto was really starting to regret his plan. Of course, it was still his best chance of actually changing anything, but since the Sharingan could see through illusions and he'd need to fool Itachi or else face some very awkward questions, he'd had to actually transform himself. The only technique he had that did that was his Warrick no Jutsu and its variations. So he had managed to transform himself into Orochimaru, as a girl. Granted, Orochimaru had been a girl before. In fact, he was fairly sure Orochimaru had been a girl when he'd killed the third, but it was still weird. Of course, he really did have better things to worry about than that, but it was better that reminding himself, again, that as much as he wanted to, he couldn't help the people he saw screaming for help as Attack methodically cut them down. Finally, he was done. And just in time, too, as Naruto heard the distinct sounds of an angry mob coming up the street. He wondered briefly what Kakashi had come up with to get a lot of witnesses over to the Uchiha compound at 3 in the morning, but figured he'd probably find out soon enough. Itachi's head snapped up, startled. The Uchiha district was rather isolated from the rest of Konoha, half the problem, really, and there was no reason for anyone, let alone a lot of anyone's, to be here. Right on cue, Naruto jumped down in front of Itachi just as the first of the crowd came into view. Sure enough, Kakashi was being chased by a large crowd of angry people, most women. What dash? Itachi began. How dare you break into my house to peep at me? One of them screamed. How do you always get me into these kinds of situations? Obito lamented. I'm going to kill you, you bass Orochimaru. Anko gasped, stunned. What the hell are you doing here? Ah, Anko, my dear, it's been too long, Naruto greeted her amiably, his eyes never leaving Itachi's. How's the curse seal holding up? Any problems? You have a lot of nerve coming back here after what you did, she growled. Yes, I get that you're upset. We'll settle this later. Right now, I'm here for one reason and one reason alone. Naruto exclaimed. And that is? Itaki asked quietly, dropping into a defensive stance. Naruto marveled at the fact that Itaki was so quick to defend the village that had asked him to kill 318 of his family members not 2 minutes before, and his best friend before that to gain the necessary power. The Sharingan, of course, Naruto explained patiently. With that, I could learn any jutsu, at any time, with very little effort on my part. Of course, those pitiful fools had to charge at me, trying to arrest me for treason or some other such nonsense, and so I killed them all. No matter, though. I'm sure your eyes will more than suffice. You killed the Uchiha? Kakashi asked, sounding horrified. You're a monster. I am above such plebeian labels, Naruto sniffed. He had to give Itaki props. Aside from a slight widening of the eyes, the Uchiha gave no indication that he was as confused as the rest of them, if not more so, because he knew what had actually happened to his clan and knew that Kakashi knew as well. Now, Naruto didn't actually really remember what Orochimaru used to fight, other than dead people and summons, but since he was supposed to be after every jutsu out there, he figured that gave him some leeway. He figured he might as well start with the earth clone technique he was fairly sure he'd seen Orochimaru use and go from there. After fighting Itaki for a few minutes, and 13 or not, the boy was good, the crowd snapped out of their stupor, remembered that most of them were ninja, and started attacking Naruto as well. I'm sorry I'm late, Naruto heard Sasuke's slightly breathless voice from the back of the crowd. What's going on? What's this? Another Uchiha? Naruto asked, sounding positively delighted. I was so afraid that I had managed to kill all of them, so this boy would be my only option as a host, but now I see that there is a spare. How wonderful. This is getting a little crowded, so I'll take my leave now, but never forget, Orochimaru of the Sunin, will be back to steal your body, mark my words, he declared, before using the body flicker to make good his escape. Once he was far enough away, he transformed back into himself and headed back to the compound. Hey guys, are we having a party? Naruto asked brightly. No, my entire family was just murdered, Sasuke snapped at him. He looked ill. And now the world's spinning. With that, Sasuke fell to the ground in a faint. I should probably go report this to the Hokage, Itaki said at last, no doubt wondering whether or not this strange new development meant he was still going to need to go into exile or not. Great idea, I'll come too, Kakashi nodded. Obito, do you want to take Sasuke with you to your new place? He can't really stay here, all things considering. Of course, Obito nodded, picking up the small child and heading off. Naruto, I'm not entirely sure why you're up this late, but you are to go straight to bed, okay? Kakashi said sternly. Oh, absolutely, Naruto agreed. And he would. Just as soon as he saw the end result of his meddling. Itaki. I didn't expect to see you again. Is it done? Minato asked heavily as Itaki appeared at the Hokage tower. He sounded sad. Kakashi? What are you doing here? I'm just tagging along, Kakashi shrugged. Yes, Itaki answered. They're all dead but myself, Obito, and Sasuke. Your brother? Minato asked. He's only 8. He has no idea, Itaki explained. I see. Well, I suppose he poses no threat then, Minato decided. Were there any problems? I'm not sure, Itaki confessed. Minato's gaze sharpened. What do you mean you're not sure? What happened? Right after I finished, Kakashi appeared, chased by a large crowd of irate women, Itaki explained. Kakashi held up his hands in defense. I had completely forgotten that was happening tonight, he lied. Minato looked skeptical, but nodded. Then what? Then Orochimaru appeared, claimed he had killed everyone, and was planning on stealing my body. We fought, then he left after Sasuke showed up. Said now he had a spare in case he couldn't possess me, Itaki explained, sounding mildly outraged at the thought of Orochimaru doing that to his little brother. Orochimaru. Minato's eyebrows rose. He took credit for killing everyone in front of a large crowd of witnesses? Are you sure it was him? Itaki coughed. Well, actually it was a woman, but there was no illusion and Anko identified him as her former mentor. I see. Minato trailed off. But why would Orochimaru take the blame for this? Whoever is said to have wiped out nearly the entire Uchiha clan is sure to gain a fearsome reputation, Kakashi suggested. Maybe he was after that. Maybe, Minato allowed. Still, I suppose we can deal with that later. For now, since Orochimaru has oh so generously offered himself up as a scapegoat, you are, of course, free to stay in Konoha. I'm sure Obito would be glad to have you, Kakashi offered. After all, you're only 13 and he'll probably want custody of Sasuke. Alright, Itachi said slowly, realizing full well just how lucky he'd gotten. Well, this isn't really how I pictured today ending, Minato confessed, leaning back on his chair. Still, perhaps it's for the best. That's it for this reading. Hit like and subscribe for a free ticket pass going to the different worlds of anime fanfictions. Looking forward to having you on board again.